tree ball, root ball here. Remember to collect the plastic bags. Now, the only really tricky part to planting the tree is when you're done planting it, you want the dirt at the same level of where it used to be. Okay? If you plant it too deep, this section here, since it's not roots, it's actually trunk, the bark will rot and the tree will die. If you plant it a little too deep or a little too shallow, this dirt's going to wash away and your root's going to be exposed, and you got a 50-50 shot whether it's actually going to survive or not. So no matter what else you do, even if it means you end up digging another hole beside you to come up with enough dirt to fill the hole, you want to be sure you end up level with where it was. And you want it level with where the ground is, más o menos. On some of these slopes, are you level at the bottom or are you level at the top? Go for the bottom. And if the slope's steep, then you'd cut away above here too, so that you end up with a level space around it. Otherwise, the moisture, the water just runs straight down the hill and right past it. Where if you level off the space above it, so you end up basically with about 1 meter round, somewhat level, so that the water as it's coming down the hill will slow down. And the other thing it does is the water's coming down the hills after the big rains, it's moving a lot of soil with it and a lot of the nutrients. So by making a level space around it, you've also fertilized it to some extent. And what we find is in the natural swales on the hill, where there's little dips on the hill, the trees do best. And it's primarily because the water has to slow down at those spots, and therefore the tree does better. So you don't want a bunch of clods in, break it up when it goes in. You fill her about halfway full. And just with your hand, compress it down, gets rid of some of the air out of there. Nice organic compost around it. Try to keep the sticks and crap out of there because they're going to create air pockets. So in this case, I don't have enough dirt by the time I get all the roots and crap out of there. So you just go above it. Mine yourself a little bit more dirt. Finish filling out the hole.
So you don't need to worry about teasing the roots when you've taken that plastic bag off? Right?
You know, only if you take the plastic bag off and you see a lot of roots around the bag, so that the roots are starting to go around like this, then you want to kind of open the roots up. But in this case, there weren't really roots. It wasn't root bound yet.
Yeah.
However, some of the trees we're going to be planting Saturday will be. And so if they are, then you do. You want to break that ball up and get the roots to spread out as much as possible. If in doubt, a bigger hole is better than a smaller hole, because again, you're going to break up that soil. As you can see, we didn't find any worms, we didn't find any grubs, anything in the soil. So the easier it is for those roots to expand out around it, the better off it's going to be. And then we stake them all. I tend to stake them on the north side, only because it makes me easy. It's easier to find the tree after it's grown up around it, if I know where I'm looking. But as long as we get a stake on it. One of the things we found was our workers tended to chop a lot of them. They didn't see them. If we don't chop every month, we lose trees. So if by chance we miss a month, the stakes have made it much easier to find them. So we've reduced the trees that just get chopped. On this hillside, we've had 3 different experiments going, so what we're doing now is going back through the experimental plots and filling in gaps. The experiments are pretty much done. So, once the tree's planted, then we lay down the cartone. In fact, on some of the slopes, it's easiest to use your stake to literally hold your cartone in place. You don't want the cardboard actually touching the tree. So if possible, leave yourself a gap there. And I cover like that much. Más o menos. The cardboard does a number of things. Number one, if we've done a good job ripping the grass out before we plant, it'll slow the grass from returning. Number two, makes it easier to find the tree when we're out here cutting grass. And number three, which we hadn't really anticipated, but it has proven very helpful, is the worms love the cardboard. So the worms come to eat the cardboard and what's dead under the cardboard and fertilize the tree. So where we use cardboard, our trees grow faster and they're more successful. More of them actually survive. And the fourth thing it does is a lot of our planting will happen in October when it's really a rainy season. But then we're followed immediately by the dry season. So the cartone will help hold the moisture in that circle longer through the dry season. And also keeps like the sun from beating down on it and drying it out super fast during the dry season. So those are our guesses anyway.
Sound logical.
In theory, all we know is when we use the cartone, our trees do better. So that's what we'll be doing Saturday.